Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Balkan Sis, the show that's going to help you navigate the massive challenges of life, motherhood, culture, identity, and belonging with more ease, acceptance, joy, and purpose. Thanks to each and every one of you that come back every time to listen, learn, heal, and feel inspired. If you do love the podcast, then do me a huge favor and hit the subscribe button. It really does help spread the word. Okay, everyone, welcome back to part two with Jelena Vukalovic. Beautiful, beautiful person. I'm just like blown away by all the stuff you've been through and lived through. And I just think, like, how does somebody stay sane through all of that? Because I mean, even just that one event of what you went through in the war would have been enough to break somebody's back and just be like, it's like you're like the phoenix. You keep on rising from the ashes, and I really love that. And I'm so grateful that you share your wisdom with others and that you so how tell us a little bit, because obviously part one for people who didn't listen, I'll recap quickly. We talked about your childhood in former Republic of Yugoslavia. We talked about you growing up in Zagreb, talked about you going into nursing and having these gifts as a young girl, not really knowing what those gifts are. But you were aware that they were there, but it was also like in a society where it wasn't really, there wasn't much support there, I guess, because it's like, you're different, you're a witch. Let's just put you in that box. But then your witchery really came to light when you were nursing in the wartime, and then it was Jelena, 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 because obviously it was very, very difficult conditions for everybody, for all of us, especially you on the front line, like helping others. So you lived through all of that. You got married, you had children. There was a big move to Australia, big cultural shock, big cultural change. That brought in a lot of things in itself. No family, no support. Um, you're married, you're this young girl, and then you got little children, and we know how taxing being a mum to young kids is. Like I always say, early childhood parenting is really tricky. It's really difficult because when people talk to me about teenagers, I'm like, I don't even want to fucking hear you right now. Like, I just enjoy it. I'm like, shut up. I was left to, like when you said 3.5 years, like, just shut up, mind your own business, god damn it, buy me a coffee or don't tell me nothing. So I really like hats off to you for being present and slowing down, and as well juggling work and everything. Tell us what that progression was from. I know I asked this question in part one, but with more clarity, going from nursing to then going full time out on your own. Like, what was that jump like, that leap like? Because we're both very business orientated and savvy, and we're go getters by nature. So how was it for you? Like that big leap, like going from full time employment, secure income to now I'm self-employed and I'm an energy healer, I'm a mentor, I'm a community leader, like I wear all the hats. Like how was that transition for you?
So that transition, happened because I was going through divorce and then I was not working with my ex-husband and we had a business together. So therefore, I had, in a sense, like a war, no choice. And you just have to be resilient and you have to just go and put your, big panties on and just go like sink or swim, nema
Mm,
druge, like sink or swim. Like you
yeah.
just have to make it happen. And when I looked at my two children, I remember the day when he said to me, he goes, I'll come and collect the kids, when you have no money. And I was like, you're doing all of this, you know what I
Mm,
mean? Like
mm,
for this. But then I looked at it back and I go, I'm so grateful that he did. And he said that because that just put a rocket up my bottom to go and
mm,
do things. And I worked two jobs, drive in the morning, take the kids to school, go to the job. Then, kids would have catch the bus to come home. And I was working for myself until 9 o'clock. So I literally worked 6, 7 days a week for the
mm.
first 2 years. And it was just like, I don't know how I did it, to be honest, but I just did it
Yeah.
with kids and a little dog in a tow. And it was an incredible story. And as my children say, it made us all of us so much more stronger. And there was days when it was really hard and tough, and the kids would just eat literally 2 minute noodles for dinner and they were happy. So
Mm,
my kids are very much in gratitude and they're very much conscious and aware of their, emotions and everything because we spoke about it, everything. But it was all about don't sit in the wounds. It was like, okay, what are we going to do with this? What are we
Mm.
going to do with this? How are we going to move forward? Because I always said to that, you have this one life, as much as I do the past life regressions, but I always say this, you have this current life, this one
Mm.
life.
Yeah.
And if we have a go a second time, that means that we had some kind of issue, heart stroke, some kind of problems that we end up in
Mhm.
hospital to
Mhm.
have it, but I'm like, until, don't even, look for the second chance. Do everything what you can in this life to have a chance to have got
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
And it was like, this is where the resilience from the war, it was like, we'll survive. I don't know how we believe that we'll survive. And probably when I saw those, men and women from concentration camp, they would have come up and I would have asked them, how did you survive all of this time there? And they would have said to me, I believed that my family was alive. So I stayed alive. But
Mm.
they little on that didn't know that maybe all of their family, in some cases, was not
Yeah.
alive, but they
Yeah.
didn't know.
It was the belief. It was
It
the
was the belief.
belief.
So I just knew that if we
Mm.
have a belief that there is something, better, higher, better is a better life, or, higher is a God, there
Mm.
is something higher, and we kind of have to strive for it rather than being in this. Because I looked at my dida after he was on submarine during, Yugoslavia time. Then he went to work as an engineer at the Cairo, at the Egypt, and he was all around that area for 20 years. And I said, Dida, how did you survive? You came home only 2 or 3 times a year to see Baka and Mama. How did you do it? And he goes like, I just knew that the girls loved me and I lived for them. And I gave
Mm.
him life what he did, And I was like, wow. So probably my dida was my inspiration when I came to Australia, as he survived in a desert, with Piesak and,
Mm.
Sydney Piesak, you know what I mean? And I was like, oh, did I really, am I here? My dida passed away by that stage. And I was like, how did I do it? And I just
Mm.
probably draw the strength from my dida to have got the strength what I have got, as he was obsessed with the lighthouses. And now when I talk and I
Mm.
say in my sessions, I go, be a lighthouse, and people go like, that really makes sense. And I
Yeah.
said, like I had lots of coaches, who are coaches now, and they come and see me in the beginning, and they would have go like, but Jelena, how do you tell people they have to come and see you? And I said, you don't. You're just a lighthouse. And
Yeah.
they will be drawn to see you, just like I met you through even I and this, and like cousins now, and knowing all of these people would, and like my Kuma and everything else. And it's just like, okay, but everything is connected and it's going to happen in the perfect timing when it's in alignment.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
what you need to do is believe into things, and believe into obviously things as better,
Mhm.
work for them. So you have to, you can't just,
You got to position yourself. It's the
you have
inner
to
and the
position
outer.
yourself.
Like you've got the inner, which is like the inner stuff, and then you got the outer, which is the moving yourself like a magnet closer to where, so there's both elements. And I love what you said about your dida, because Andrew has a lighthouse tattooed on his arm. And because he loves the water, loves the ocean, and that's his thing as well, the lighthouse. So I just love
And
that
I
you
love
said
the way
that.
that.
And
Yeah.
it's just, I love that analogy and that metaphor in life. And then also you drawing inspiration from your dida, which, because I draw so much inspiration from my baba. And I just like, we used to come to her house. There was nothing on the bloody table. Within 2 minutes, there's like a full spread of chicken in front of you. Like, what the fuck with that car? I never, it was like mind boggling. Like, my little brother's like, you don't know, what did she just whip up? Like, she just made a full meal. Like, we're going to be sitting here for half an hour. And I'm like, how does she do it? It's like a riddling. Like, couldn't understand. And now when people come over, boom, I have like a full breakfast brunch spread, like right in front of them. And Daddy's like, oh my God, Ivana, your baba. And I was like, oh my God, it's actually love. It's love. That's like, it's like you figure all this stuff out later. It's like you said, if my needle can do it, like I
Yeah.
can do it. And you're drawing inspiration from those people. And like you said, with the belief, it's holding like a tangible thing, like an outer belief to it's gonna
Yeah.
get better. And also when you compare shit to the war, it all pales in comparison. Like, because when you have war and you've got poverty and no electricity and no food and no nothing, and I think to myself, I said to Andrew, if I could fucking survive that, I can fucking survive anything. And of course,
Yeah.
you go up and down, it's like a wave. Of course, you have other setbacks that are different, and might be challenging in different ways. But you think, fuck, if we went through that and I had three siblings and me, four, plus my parents, so we didn't die and we made it through that, like, yeah, well, I'm supposed to be here. Like, I'm a gift.
Yeah.
There's so
You're
with you.
supposed
So
to be here. So
when you
enjoy it.
start, yeah, like once you start becoming aware of all of that, it's actually really big shifts. Now, I want to ask you, because I got so many fucking questions here, literally, like, And it's so exciting because it's you know what came to me last night? I was listening to something and the main theme was flow or resist.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh my god, that's the theme of
You should
talking to
read my post
Jelena."
about resistance.
Literally, I'm like, "That is my conversation with Jelena." Like, it's just perfect timing. And I wrote it down and I was like, "Flow or resist." Because everything in your life that comes to you or for you or that you choose in one way or another, it's like you can either choose to flow or resist it. And I was just like, "Oh my god." But I wanted to ask you, it's like, do you think, in your personal professional opinion, that our paths are already set out for us, or do you think we carve them, or do you think it's a bit of both? Like, do you think before we're born, there's already a set path? Like, Yelena's going to go through a war, she's going to do this, she's going to la 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 la. Like, do you think it's already set out for you before you've been born?
I think so. It set up the theme in a sense. If I look it back on my particular life, I was set up to do and make changes or transmute things. That's why, hence why, my copywriter, when she said, she goes like, you're like an alchemist, you transmute things, from the bad into the good if they want to, obviously,
Mhm.
again, you have to have a free will that people want to change and they can change. So you know, do we have something designated to us as the theme that we should be doing? Yes. And then we're overcoming things in our life. But I don't think so that everything is really set in a stone. It's more like emotion or something that we, have to work through it and come to the higher levels. Because,
Mhm.
from here, what we were born with, and maybe we were not born in the most, I would say the word perfect family, that everything's good, because then how can you learn anything? And as a people, we learn from the hardship. I mean,
Mhm.
some people do, and some people go like, no, 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 I'll just stay in a victim mode. And I always say this: become a victim, own
Mhm.
that, and become a victim, not a
Mhm.
victim mode into
Mhm.
it. This is where I say, when my husband did what he did, the first one when he said that you'll be, in poverty or whatever, and I was like, watch me. I had
Yeah.
no idea how I'm gonna do it. I was
Yeah.
crying. I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? But I had the army of my friends and the strength inside me. I'm like, I survived the war. What's this?
Mm.
Like, this is a piece of cake. It wasn't a piece of cake. There was a days when I was
Yeah. Of
scared,
course.
but
Of
you know what I
course.
mean? Like, without no family and everything. And I was like, oh, like, "Matt, you can do this." So are we set for that everything is in alignment for us in a sense of that it's everything's designated to us and we're just kind of doing it what we're supposed to do? No, I still think so. We can alternate and change. If the lesson was there presented, well, then it's up to us. It's like in a dating, like if you keep doing the same thing or in work, you keep doing it and it doesn't give you results, then well, it's
Mm.
sort of madness if you continue doing
Mhm.
it. And
Mhm.
the life, what it does, it gives you the same lessons.
Yeah.
And you're in a
Yeah.
vicious circle. This is where usually come and people see me and they go like,
Mhm.
like that's on a merry-go-round, and I'm like, okay, let's go find the exit
So
line.
they feel like they've been just sort of living in the same cycle, living the same they're just sort of fed up with
Because
themselves, with life, and then
they
it's
don't
like,
want
"Let's
to
fall
look
yell at
anything.
her."
Yeah, and then they go like, "Oh, but they're looking then externally that something's going to happen." And this is where I always say this: you want to have things to happen. Even what I see that you can get pay rise or get this or get that, but if you're not going to not just put yourself in alignment, actually physically move your two little bum cheeks and just make it happen, and you're
Mm.
going to be out of the comfort zone or do things or you know what I mean, like it could be uncomfortable. That's when it's the growth. This is where challenge
Mm.
is. So on the other side of the fear, same
Mm.
thing is freedom. Both starts with F, but then choose which one you want to
Mm.
have. Look,
So people keep themselves comfortable out of safety and false sense of
exactly.
security.
And that's where it's, is it really, that they don't want to grow, or is it like, why they don't want to grow? Because
Mm.
it's just like it's uncomfortable. But in the darkness, like a seed, and I talk about this in my class of the pineapple season, it takes 2 years for pineapples to grow. So
Mm.
sometimes people are just like, don't want to wait, they don't have patience and they want to
Yeah.
have it now. It has to happen now. And I go like, patience is a virtue. And
Mm.
I, as a little girl, wasn't born with a patience as a virtue. I had to train myself to have patience as a virtue
Oh,
because
look, I don't think any of us were born. Well, look, I think we were all born divine and perfect, and
I
like
was
as
born like
children, like
Mickey Mouse
beautiful.
tapping the feet.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I often go back to this notion. I've said, talk to my husband. I'm like, we were all born children, innocent, pure, beautiful, and then conditioning. Obviously, all these conditions from society, from our parents, from our culture, from being Balkan as well. We lived all that same life where like I was the same as you. I was like, oh, like I just want to do, just go, 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 go. And then you're like, I'm a go getter, and then you like you become a mum, and you're like, fuck, I'm not a go getter. Like I'm tired. I'm an anxious mess. And then it's actually hard when you start having the realizations. It's actually really hard and it's painful. It's like growing pains, So how is it for you now when this world that you're living in now? First of all, it's two questions. How Was it difficult to find like the language for what you do because it's already so inbuilt in you and how you live your life? Like, was it difficult then to sort of how do you turn it into a business? How do you the words? What do you use? Because I know I have a friend as well who's a psychic and she finds it hard to articulate like in the English language. Just her gifts and her talents. Second, as well of all, how do you feel about labels? Because there's so many labels now, like anxiety, PTSD, ADHD. Like I just met 3, 4 women literally in the last like few weeks who are like, "Well, I haven't got diagnosed with ADHD." And they're like, "Well, maybe you have it." And I'm like, "Maybe I fucking do. Who knows?" But if I do, great. If I don't, also great. I don't give a shit. I just move on and I just like stay curious, stay open, and that's the thing. I think if you don't force change, change will come upon you in a form of an accident or sickness or illness or things will happen. And are you still surprised with the amount of people that come to you or who are like shocked at the things that have happened to them? Like, because I know even people who have like had a fall and broken their leg, like, oh, it's just an accident. And I'm like, is it really? Like, is it hard when you're the one looking so deep into things and other people aren't?
I I say to them in the sessions, and I say to them that every disease is, it can be developed. It starts with the pain, and if we ignore the pain, becomes a disease. But it's ease of something, and I see the emotions in people. So how I see people is like if you watch the movie Matrix, it's like the green colors and numbers, and I see this in people. So generally, like, this is the funniest part when I go to the parties or something, and people go like, oh, I've got these questions to ask and all of that stuff. So they always ask questions and they always go like, how do you just see? How do you just know this? So when I had my friend's, her husband was mechanic and he was, I would bring my car, my previous car to him. And in the mechanical shop, all the men would run away, hide behind the car that I don't see them, that in case if I see anything bad about them, that they're not proud of it, they would hide. And I'm like, you can't hide. I still see it. Doesn't matter where you are. That's why, you know, everything starts from a childhood. What, the conditioning that happened. Is it the parents? Is it the environment? But we can't blame the parents or environment. I can't go to my parents and say to them, you done this and this and that, because my parents are living. They're not going to understand that.
Mm.
Absolutely. So you need to just then go and say, okay, this is what happened to me, but how do I work with it? How do I embody it? How do I evolve it? So how did I come up with the words for me? I have to say my copywriter, she's amazing. And she would have sit down and she's Gemini like me. And we would just go like talk. And then 2 hours later, we're still talking. But we would have get the words out. And she's like, to me, genius with the words, what she does. And she still looks after my website and my things, my paperwork and everything else. So I absolutely love her. So she's the one who helped me. What I would say to your friend is just say how it is, whatever comes out,
Mm. Yeah.
and describe as crazy as Vieschitzer sounds or whatever things you do. Because sometimes I go and say to people in sessions things about them or in the past what happened or what's going to happen, and I go like, oh my god, I just said this, and I'm like, well, and they go like, yeah, it makes sense, and I'm like, it's so good that it makes sense to you because the
Mm.
message is for them, not for me. But
Yeah.
the point is, what I want to say to the people is when I say the psychic part, what are you going to do with that? You have a choice. Like when a woman,
Mm.
for example, is not in receiving because X, Y, and Z happened to her in her life and she becomes like I did as a masculine, and you have to go get out and you have to go and do things. Hard, then you have a man and then he wants to do things for you and you feel uncomfortable because you're like, oh, like, but I'm not used to that.
Mm.
Because you are then in that, wounded masculine, and then you have to learn to be. That's hence why the radiant feminine woman come along with program. Hard to be that when you're with a man and relax and enjoy, and your nervous system to have it in a calmness. So when I started off my business, years ago, when I would say you have wounded feminine, everyone's like, oh, like, what the hell are you talking about? I was a pioneer in that time to say things. But now when I say that, people are actually hearing it. So
Mhm.
whoever is listening this and they want to bring something new because they've got that gift or there is something what they bring in you, be that first one, be inventor, be that genius, bring that more. Doesn't
Mhm.
matter how crazy it is, the people are not listening to you. As my Dita said, be the lighthouse. And that's why I call my business as a healing light, and it's LITE. and it's a light on the end of the tunnel because that's
Yeah.
a memory of him as a lighthouse. But you feel light after the sessions because sometimes it's about getting, this, the emotions out, but I pull them out through the energy healing too.
Mm.
So you get the whole combination as, we call it trifecta in the
Yeah.
whole sessions. So it doesn't matter if, you sound crazy to someone and they call you Vještica or they call you whatever names, just believe in yourself.
Mm.
And your time will gonna come just like, KFC, believed in his, chicken that it's the best. I don't like KFC, for us, of course, Croatian schnitzel is the best, So like KFC, so like my kids never had a burger in takeaway shops, like a burger, to si mama napravit, what I mean?
And you were like my mom. My mom was like, "Napravču ja, why are you gonna pay for that?"
I buy my son put Eddie Murphy and some square bread and all whatever, the McDonald's
Yeah.
things, and he goes, "Turn on some mama." And I'm like, "Ma, listen, mama, look at shops, bloody burger." Laura's 18, she never had McDonald's burger, yeah? And I'm proud of that because I'm like, "Ma, šta to jesti?" Like, mama makes it, it's good. At least we know what's inside. It's not in a glow in the dark. I believe in a good food. Like when,
Yeah.
with my friends, want to make the salamis, we got a tuna, we cooked a tuna, we made the tuna, preserved it and everything else. I'm like, so
That's
you
beautiful.
know,
I like
I love
that
I
you've
love bringing that
preserved.
stuff because I love
Yeah.
that.
I like that you've like preserved like the old within you, like you've preserved your culture. And because I feel like our ancestors, and I feel like people don't talk about this a lot actually on the internet. It's all about breaking into generational trauma and breaking this and breaking that and be the one who breaks this and breaks that. I'm like, you know what? I've got fucking nothing to break, man. It is what it is. Just fucking accept it. I'm not saying acceptance is ignorance. Yes, there's things there that like we can all alter, but I call it evolution. My parents did way better than what their parents did. So to them, they did great. Top scores, I look back and think, oh, fuck, I would have done that different. Well, guess what? I have the opportunity. They brought me to safety. I have a safe space to parent from. That's a fucking blessing. My parents did their job, right? So I just feel like there's so much stuff on the internet that's like trauma and breaking this and breaking that and all this shit. And it can get so loud and so confusing. And I love what my grandparents did. I love my grandma. Like, I love my great grandma. I have fond memories of her. Like, they had so many healing powers in just so many majestic ways that for me, it's about preservation. It's like preserving that, taking out the good bits and leaving out the bits that don't serve me. So I like that you do the same, like with your kids, with the cooking, with the tradition. Like it's really lovely that you draw on those things.
It absolutely is, and it's finding a resolution in revolution. What's
Mm.
revolution is happening instead of you. It could be turmoil. I'll give you an example is when my son was little and he was getting toilet trained, potty trained. I mean, funny story. And we had a cat at the time. My sister-in-law gave us a cat. And I was training Joshua and I was in the kitchen. I'm like, sit on a potty, sit on a kaklica, you know what I mean? Like, just be there. But I didn't saw what he done. He went in the cat litter tray and he done it to me over there. And he covered it up with his snake. And he comes in the kitchen, has no saying on his goods and I'm going like, what now? What now? This is Josh. All his life he was like this. He tested me so much, and he goes, "Mama, I don't caca in a cat litter tray. To Frodo, you go good boy, and to me, you get upset." And I was like, "Such a good point. How can I be upset? You don't understand that you are the human, and he's a cat. So this is how conscious parenting." And I'm like, "Sina, no problem. Mama puts you in his sink, wash your goza." And I remember that today, and I'm even telling this story because I wrote it down that in his memory book. So I said, "You have this for your children to read when you're done." And he goes, and this is where I learned. But I have to look at it from his perspective.
Mm.
And this
Yeah.
is where I say to the parents, you have to look at it from children's perspective. So when they're toddlers, when they're screaming, sit down with them on the floor, pause. You chose to be a parent. The same
Yeah.
as when you're divorcing, you chose to be having divorce. Don't mix the children into it.
Yeah.
You do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Or when you chose to be a parent, you need to find it's not possible every time, but at least 8 times out of the 10,
Yeah.
try to
Yeah.
be calm and pause and see the children's perspective. Like
Yeah.
Josh was 18 months and Alan went on a roof and Joshua went to fix the antenna. And Joshua, there was no child logs. Joshua 22 and a half now. There was a child lock. Wasn't such a thing as child lock. Especially I come from Croatia, like I got child lock,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm 15 child lock.
A playpen. Yeah.
timeline.
Yeah.
And he's like, and he climbed on a loiter ladder, and he went on a roof after Alan. And I looked at him up, and I'm like, "Oh, Sina, come to mama. Walk to mama on a pergola. Please come to mama." And I'm like, "Oh my lord, he's 18 months. How can I be upset with him? He
Yeah.
has no
Yeah.
understanding that it's dangerous, that it's this, that it's that. I don't want
Mhm.
to put a fear inside of him, but I did explain to him, you have to
Mhm.
tell us, and
Yeah.
and we have to lock the doors, and you know what I mean, like all of those things. But this is where you have to, as observe, see
Mm.
in
That's
yourself. And
right.
it's a lot of reflection. And you can, yes, you experienced the trauma. I did, you did. But what do we do with that experience? That can become
Yeah.
traumatic, or it can be traumatic in the sense that you're reliving it all the time.
Mhm.
But how you're going to embody, heal, grow from it.
It's triggering
And
as
use
fuck.
as
Yeah.
resilience as
Yeah.
something that's going to give you
Yeah.
things. Or like in our case, dating.
Yeah.
Okay, I see the red flags, I see the black flags. Oh, I
Mm.
see the green flags. I'm not comfortable with the green flags. They're good flags, yeah. If I'm not comfortable with the green flags, my body is going for the nervous
Mm.
system because I'm uncomfortable. Like for example, they'll be with me, and it's like, okay,
Mm.
I need to calm myself down. It's not his job to
Mhm.
calm me down. I need to calm myself down.
So how does one, and this is the thing, like I was literally going to record a whole episode on this, is how does one actually sit and be comfortable with receivership? That like, because there's some people have issues with giving, like that they're not able to give or they're not able, like, and sometimes when Andrew used to say to me, well, we're dating, so we're together since we're early 20s, and he'd be like, why are you overreacting or over this or over like making a small thing into a mountain, you know? And I was like, you know what? Why are you underreacting? Like right now, you should be overreacting, right? So it was that because different personalities,
It's a
different upbringings, all
polarity.
these things. It's a polarity, right? And it's obviously that the more we've gotten on into the relationship, there's been big shifts, big realizations. Like we're literally hit 15 years, and it's not even about the length of time. It's what we've learned in that time. And we're both just so proud of ourselves, how we've maintained our individuality and then how we've grown as a couple. And one thing that's always saved us is that we've grown together, where it's like there'll be an idea, there'll be a shift, and it's like, are you going to move or not? Like, are you going to change and level up or not? And so we're both blessed in that way that we have this sense of like unity within each other. But it's it's tricky because so many people are like, oh, you do all the things, you do this, you do that, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's great, and they have issues to do that. But for me, it's the simple things like you said, the green flags. How does one become, especially a woman, become comfortable with safety, security, nurture, like just like you said, sit in the feminine. Like where can one start to be like,
Um,
oh, my friend's
but
not trying to take anything from me, or my boyfriend's not actually trying to like that's odd for some people.
yeah, of course it is. In the beginning, absolutely it is. But this is where the inner work has to be done prior to a
Mhm.
relationship,
Mhm.
prior to dating or anything like
Mhm.
that. This is where I always say this. If you're going to be just jumping from one pattern to another, it's avoidance, and you don't want to have
Mhm.
self reflection, and you don't want to take accountability. In every relationship, there are two people, there's not ever one. So you have to look at it as, what was your contribution?
Mhm.
In a good way, what's the ones that was stopping you or pausing you, or causing the issues in a relationship. And every relationship will bring all unhealed wounds. But if
Mhm.
we feel safe that we can speak and we can be seen and we can be heard, just like in a child, then even in adults, if we feel that we can be safe, but you need to get to know yourself. This is where in
Mhm.
sessions, when I tune in and we go and look at what's your foundations. Is it abandonment? Is it anger? Is it, what happened to you when you were 5 years old? I look at it up and I hear them, what they say to me. And then we work through it,
Mhm.
that you can actually get to know yourself. What is it that you actually know? So I always say to people, until we're 18, we're kind of living in that life of being a child. And after you're 18, everyone goes, oh, you're adult now. And then you go like, who am I? This is the time when you turn 18 or 21, you start to get to know yourself, who you
Mhm.
are, without the input of the parents and everyone else. Then you go like, but who am I? And I see this on my
Mhm.
children because they're 18 and 22. So
Yeah.
then you get to know yourself. And then once when you get to know yourself, then you're going to see if the trigger comes in a way of somebody's buying something for you, or you're in receiving as a female, and then you go, okay, I need to breathe, I need to do this, I need to tell myself this is okay, this is safe. And then, you have got the strategy placed up for yourself.
Mhm.
What you need to do based on what was the previous relationship done to you.
Mhm.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
but how are you going to get to know this? What people sometimes they come and see me, oh, is this person going to bring everything what I want and they're going to be perfect? And I go, don't kid yourself. I'm not Willy Wonka. I'm not going to give you a fairy tale story. They will not going to do that. And if we wait for someone to save us and to do everything for us, well, then you're putting so much expectation on them.
So
and
how
to
did
do so
you
much work.
how did you know as an alchemist and psychic and mentor and all of the above? It's like, how do you know how much to drip feed, how much to share, how much to not share? You might see something. Do you always reveal it? Do you, because are they ready to, do you usually always start with the inner child stuff? Or is it like past life regression? What is a past life regression? How do you raise consciousness, awareness? How do you do that? You can't. It comes with lessons, but people are coming to you in such a fucking destroyed state. It's like,
Yeah.
help me, save me. I've broken my leg. I can't have a baby. I've got infertility issues. I've got
Yeah.
headaches. Like, they come to you with these symptoms. Are they usually always, or if what some aware that these symptoms are linked to the way they're living their life? Like, can they see the connection or not?
No, they can't see the connection. That's generally what they come and see me and they go like, oh, what do you see for me? And then when I tell them, we work through the inner child. So that's what usually they are wanting to hear. Something's going to change, something good is going to happen in their life. And I'm like, okay, you will, but only if you can actually hold the space for it. Again, if you want to have a pay rise, but you have got distorted masculine and feminine, if you're female, feminine in receiving, how are you going to get a pay rise? You're going to, disperse it in a way of money receiving, and you're not going to believe into it. You'll self-sabotage it.
Mm.
So generally what the people come and see me is they're in absolutely want. So, and I say to them, there is one thing what I always say is, you want to have a Willy Wonka who's going to give you a fairy tale story? I'm not a person for you. I'll give you blunt and honest truth. I call it as it is, what it is, and I tell them what they need to go and do. Do they cry in these sessions? Is it difficult for them? Yes, obviously. I take time and explain to them what they need to do and where it's going to lead them, what is going to happen, how they work through it. Obviously, in the beginning, it's a little bit more gentler approach and just explaining to them, but still, I don't give them anything fake.
Yeah.
I don't say to them, there is a magical potion, just drink this and you'll be fine. It doesn't.
Yeah. Like, here's a 10-step program to not feel whatever.
This is how you want to achieve it. This is what I'm working on it, because I always say to them, I am a goal achiever. I want to work with people where, they're willing to do the work. If they expect of me to do everything and not to give them, this is why you get, a good mentor, a good someone to actually tell you what you need to do. Just like a trainer. When I was doing synchronized swimming in Croatia, when I was in my younger years, the trainer would say, Jelena, you have to do this. Jelena, you're not positioning yourself like this in a swimming pool. Like, yeah, was that complimentary? No, it was a criticism. Yes, it was, to get me better, to be in a team. So, which I was in a team of Croatia or Yugoslavia at the time, for synchronized swimming. I was the swimmer. So, and we would train. And, this is where, I have to say, during that time, during Yugoslavia, one thing what it is we learn to be resilient. We did not cry when she said to me and yelled at me in the pool, and we would be 3-4 hours in a pool every day. She was crying. There was no crying. It was like, okay, no worries.
Why do you think people are allergic to the word resilient? Why do you think there's this whole thing? Like, I've talked to so many people and they're like, oh, they shared a meme or something like, oh, I hope I don't ever get called resilient in my life ever again. Why do you think there's such a negative stigma towards being resilient? Like bouncing back, being stretchy, or tough love? Like, do you think it's a Western and an Eastern society thing? Like, do you think Europe has got a bit of a different mentality towards that versus America and Australia? Because here it's a lot like, even my mum, we got to the checkout here. The lady's like, hi, how you going? How's your day? Mum's like, what's she asking me? I'm like, well, she asked you how your day was. She's like, it's none of her business. Why is her business how my day was? I'm like, Mum, she's being friendly. It's called fucking customer service. But to Mama, it was like invasive. Like, why is she asking me why I'm wearing this color today? Like, but now my mum is the biggest social butterfly and she's so customer service friendly. But that's the whole thing. I think it's that Western, European, and then it's very different. Like, I said this to my friend the other week. She said, oh, we're very big on please and thank yous in the house. And I said, oh, I'm not really. And she was like, oh, and people are like really shocked when I say that. And I'm like, no, I don't mean like I'm raising my kids to be a little shit and like not have manners. But he doesn't need to say, please, mama, thank you, mama, please. Like, he just says, hey, mommy, can I have, he'll just say, oh, hey, mama, can you pass me this? And I'm like, yeah, honey, here. I don't go, oh, say thank you, Like, I don't care. It's like I go to Andrew, hey, pass with the salt, and he's like, oh, please would be nice. And I'm like, it's my tone. I asked you nicely. Why do I have to put a please and a thank you at the end of everything? It's a very Aussie thing, I feel, a very British and
Mm.
American. So it's like, how do you feel with these labels? You know how like now there's a label for everything and there's the censoring and a very cancel culture. How do you feel that ties in with your work?
I always explain, it is hard, like, because the labels exist. And I think some people like to have God, and some people are going to get triggered with this, but they
Mm,
like to have a label because it's explaining to them what and why something happening. And it's almost justification for their manners or behavioral patterns or things like that, where I say to them, okay, you have this, I understand that you're taking medications or things like that, but you
mhm,
can change it. As
mm,
people, look at it, Dr. Joe Dispenza, like a motivational person, from Canada, who was supposed to be in wheelchairs, and he's walking, he's on a stage and he's doing his speeches, and I absolutely love him. And I met him when he was in Sydney, and that's to me inspiration. But if he had a label that he's going to be in wheelchairs, well, then he would be in the wheelchairs. Where I
mm,
was told, for example, synchronized swimming, that, I have no flexibility in my back because I was spina bifida. So, I could not do it, but I was like, no, I will do it. And I was doing synchronized swimming, which is absolutely flexibility.
mm,
More than 180 degrees, you have to do splits and everything else. So, and it's like, when somebody said to me something, you can't do this, my tata would say to me, you can't do this, Jelena. Like, who do you think you are? Like, I was 4 years old and I was on a roof on my parents' home and I wanted to fly. I put feathers on my back and everything. And I was like, Icarus. And I was like, I want to fly. I went through Chile. I mean, mom and dad had to call the hospital because I was stuck in the car. And I was like, oh my God, it's like, isso se pode estar a discutir. My son was doing things. I'm going, I'm the same as him. Like, I was like, macaco ne može, I'll find a way. So
yeah.
this is why I want to say this, that resilience, is it a resilience, or we just determined that there is more ways of,
Mm,
doing things. And the same as when in a surgery during the nursing, again, there was no electricity. So, okay, it's Najis, get
mm,
this, get Svieta, we get boiling water. We've done the best what we could with the
mm,
circumstances what we had. The same as how all the, ones come to Australia, from the housing commission to, like my ex-in-laws, how I had kufer. But look
mm,
at it. They worked, they've done this, turn this around, you don't stop.
mm.
And
Yeah.
this is why I want to say to people, yeah, okay, you have label, but learn to live with that and go like, okay, can I change? Can I improve? Can I change
Yes.
my food? Because food is a big thing. And I know this because coming from, Croatia, from, our country, where food is just delicious,
Yeah.
no chemicals, where I
Yeah.
can't eat chemicals. And I go like, my kakav shitstorm, like chemical shitstorm.
Mm,
There is no colors. Like my kids want to have, when they were little, they go like, Mama, was sve tomato sauce. My mama će ti napraviti tomato sauce from scratch. Kakav tomato
yeah.
sauce, kakav
Yeah.
barbecue sauce.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they were one of those kids where I didn't give them, the red hot dogs. I'm like, kakva plastika.
Napravit ćemo onako basce, yeah, yeah.
So you go to the parties, then we go to the Aussie party. I'm like, so you reach the doma, yes? And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
you
yeah,
go
and
to
they
the
had the little
party.
sausage rolls and this and that. Yeah, that was shocking to me
Exactly.
too. Like, bring your
And,
own this, bring your own that, bring everything. It's a very
and I'm
different way
like,
to live.
it's all right. And the same what you said about your mom, like this was shocking for me when I came here first, because my mom was in a bank manager where my dad was chef studies there. And like the lady in the bank, she goes to me, "Hello, how are you? How's your day going?" And I'm like, "Mašallah, meni to pita kako je moj dan, šta nju zanima?" And it was the same thing. And I was
The
like,
friendliness is off-putting. Yeah, the friendliness is off-putting, and often
yeah,
it's that cultural. It's that big cultural change, and
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 it's
that's
huge.
and that's the thing.
Where
And
I'm
like,
now like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And where Joshua goes to me, Mama, put skrbnicu na glavu. When you go to the shops, everyone knows you. And everyone walks
yeah.
in so that we can finish shopping earlier. And I'm like, ma šta možeš, tako je, kako je.
Yeah, I know, but I think it's really nice that we have entered an era and a time where like your gifts and your talents and your wisdom and the gifts you've been born with are really now coming. Like, I think also post COVID now, what's happening is like it's all really like if people their consciousness as race, I think as a collective, like people are seeing truths, like they're seeing this, they're seeing that, like they're seeing behind things. A lot of like officials have been revealed and things have been revealed. So I feel like people are getting really savvy and more clued on. And obviously, with the age of the internet, and like, yes, it is over information, like over everything. But I
Mhm.
also feel like it's good timing. Like it is noisy out there, so that like people struggle obviously with anxiety, with this, with that, and whatever. But I often feel like I just said, Andrew, it's not just a bad or a good, it's just an experience. I just choose to see it that way. And it's like, because if I just choose to see everything as bad or it was so traumatic, it was this, it was that, yes, acknowledge it. It's part of the healing process. You have to acknowledge what's happened. But at the same time, like you said, you have to at some stage pivot because otherwise, what's the alternative? Like, what's the alternative, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And I say to everyone, everyone goes like, "Oh, but I've seen energy healers that didn't help me, whatever." And I go like, "Okay, I can't say to you where they're right, that they were not right." But I said, you have nothing to lose except try and see. I mean,
Mm,
I'll look at my testimonials and things, what happened, and I can't explain it. People go like, "But you actually don't touch a person." I'm like, I don't have to touch you. That's where the
mm,
clients are all around the world because I don't have to touch them. And I said, I can't explain it, how I see it, where I have to take it out, what it is that it's blocking. And I talk to you through your emotions, but I'll say to the people, at least try something and, see what works for you. Everyone is different. And sometimes I get clients like you seen the other day, testimonial, after 7 years, she come and saw me because she had miscarriages and she goes, I know, I heard about you before, but now I need you and I need to have a womb healing. I need to work
mm.
with this, to have got a pregnancies and to help me why I don't have them, what it is.
Yeah.
And again, I always said like, okay, let's go see what it is. What do I see? How is it going to happen?
So how do you manage your own energy? Like, how do you, because you're
Um,
helping so many people, obviously it's a natural gift, but how do you then, obviously very firm boundaries, but how do you, yeah, like you're helping so many people, it's gratifying, it's,
yep.
but at the same time, yeah, how do you look after yourself? What are some things that you do that nourish you?
I absolutely do. So my self inner peace, inner time is absolutely must. So grounding, as you can see it on lots of videos, it's grounding, feet on the floor, not on a carpet or, concrete, outside on the grass. Having the quiet time. Is it a bath? Is it a walk? Is it, go and sit on a beach? Is it just having with a friend over, or going out and, being with the friends? That's all recharging me. Reading a book, just listening to, other people's motivational speeches, podcasts. They're all filling up my soul.
Hmm.
So I always do that. Or, just the quiet time. That's why I absolutely love, in my quiet time is like so precious and I absolutely value it. And I go like, no, I'm having this, I'm doing this. So I'm like very much that, the quiet time has to happen. So the quiet time is pretty much grounding, bath, doing my, as I call it, rituals, but they're not really rituals. To me, they're just a normal part of my everyday routine.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
like you have a shower, is it a ritual? Call it ritual if you want to. To
Yeah.
me, my
Yeah.
shower is like where, my best friends, they always go like, what visions did you have in the shower today? Like they always go like, it comes out of the shower and there's the visions. And I'm like, yeah, I saw this and I'm blah, blah, blah. And I tell them. So they're like my little journal
Mm,
prompts for them.
mm.
But yeah, and they go like, it's always something magical happens there.
How do you
But
with your gifts, is it something you can switch on and off or taper down or speed up? How do you manage it? Like, when you're out in the world, like, obviously you'd feel a lot and you would, so
I,
how do you then, yeah, like, you
yeah,
met
I
someone at the shop and then you like might see so it's like, do you then just go home and let it go? Like, when do you know when to activate it and when to actually use it
I
and when
switch it
not?
off when I go out. I switch it off. First of all, is if something really meant to be to stand out or something, people will say something. I don't go to the
Mhm,
people because this would sound really crazy. If the person comes up, oh here you go, it's your grandpa. He's saying this, blah blah blah, and you have liver problem and you have these issues because of
mhm,
blah blah blah. I
mhm,
I don't do that to the people because that would sound like
mhm,
absolutely crazy. And second
mhm,
part is they didn't ask me for it, so who am I to go and do this? When I
mhm,
go to the parties, like usually people will say like, Jelena, may I ask you something or whatever? And I go like, I'm really off the limits today. Like, you know what I mean? I just came here to just, talk and have fun and things like that. It's kind of my
mhm,
time. I'm not working 24 hours. You know what
mhm,
I mean? Like, so that's the time and then I just switch it off. Like
mhm.
there, I think
Yeah.
obviously mindset, I can always talk about that. That nothing that I have to tune into it. But if I tune into that person, why? If something blocked up, I'll be tuning
Mhm.
in. That's a work. That's my energy.
Yes, yes,
So then it's
yes.
a work and then it drains you. Obviously, after a while, it drains you. You need to plug in your own
Mhm,
batteries. So do I have got the times where at least 3 or 4 times a year you've got a huge where you're growing and you know, things happen and grow, then you get sick, like you had me with my sinuses and everything. And, why did something happen? Because there is emotion. And, it was with the sinuses, the repressed things, what happened. And I had to clear that up. And that took a while, but I had to go through my emotions because it's,
Mm.
as one of my reels talk about it, we're like a big onion and we
Mm.
have many layers. And as my did and as in beautiful gift being in hospital, people would always say, you don't stop learning until the day you are, on the last day on your earth, when
Mm.
heart stops, then you stop learning. But until that day, you're peeling up the layers.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a
And
journey.
that's
It's
why
a
I have to
journey.
peel with a big onion and go like, you're
Yeah.
peeling up the layers because
Yeah.
like people say to me, when do you stop? But you don't stop. Just like you don't stop driving a car. Like, you have to take it to
Mm.
mechanic. You have to fill it up with petrol or electricity. You know what I mean? Like you're doing things.
Yeah.
And energy of people is about moving. Feminine energy, especially. It's about circulatory. It
Mhm.
moves. If
Mhm.
you're going to make it as a square, well, it's not going to work because that's not feminine energy.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's about movement, how you move it and allow it. And that's why I say, like, we had to change the podcast and, move it. I said, when it's in alignment, everything happens. Me coming
Yeah.
this week to Brisbane, it was in alignment that I was
Mm.
able to do it. So I go like, it will happen if it's in
Yeah.
alignment.
Well,
If
that's
not,
what
it
I
won't.
do with the podcast. Like I have so many people on the go at the moment. Like I have this beautiful organization, Save the Dogs BH, like massive organization. The guy who runs it is as well from Bosnia. He's in Germany. Massive page, big following. His admin person is in Switzerland. She's been to Australia before. She's actually going to come. That we've been planning it for like 3 months now. Like she's been away. She was sick. I was sick. And I'm like, that's fine. I literally don't push. I'm just like, it's all good. Okay, this month it's off. Okay, well, good. I was supposed to have this beautiful lady, Jelena. She actually lives in Egypt, because she has such an interesting history and story, and she's an author. And like, I'm writing a book, so like I love connecting with other authors as well, and then people who are storytellers and writers. And like her story's fascinating. It's like she was in former Yugoslavia, like then she ends up in Egypt, like married to like Sudanese, like crazy stories. And I'm just like, oh, how does a Serb or a Croat end up in Egypt? But then again, look at your grandfather, ended up in all these parts of the world. Like,
My grandpa was one of the engineers on Aswan Dam.
but that's what I mean. We are we are like, I love digging back our history. I love excavating like an archaeologist, my own soul, people's soul. Like I just love learning and sifting through things. I said to Andrew, I never want to stop learning. Like and I do meet people often and they think like they download this PDF and it's like 10 steps to not feeling guilty as a mum. I'm like, first of all, guilt is a fucking social construct. Like it's not even, So when I go out and I do things, I'm like, I don't feel guilty. My son's looked
Oh,
after. He's with his father. I'm happy. When I'm happy, my son's happy. And I had to teach him. He's like, Mama, I don't want you to go. I miss you, Mama. You're leaving me, because he's little. And then he now understands, Mummy, you have good time at yoga. You love it there. Your friends go. I'm like, yeah. He goes, okay, Mum, have good time. Mwah. And it took a few goes, but I didn't quit on the first run. Like when I was going on the first night, every Thursday was tears. Every Thursday was
yeah.
crying. Even Andrew went away as well last Saturday, and he's like, Daddy's leaving. And I'm like, Daddy, needs alone time, honey. We are all, you love being with you. And I'm just explaining and that to his level. And I talk, and like through my mentoring too, like I have 3 ladies I'm mentoring through Croatian Women in Leadership. One's in Croatia, 2 are here. And I'm like, you're just an ever of unfolding rose. Like it's not like, oh, you've just reached that destination, it's done. Oh, now I don't feel guilty anymore. Done. All right, don't need to do any more work. Like,
Comes.
yeah. So that's what I
It's
need to
how
learn
we deal
from
with
you.
it.
Even just being in your masterclass, like it's
Yeah.
beautiful, like your Facebook group that you have. So tell us a little bit about, like how people can access you, how they can book you, what sessions you offer, just so they get a better picture as to, how they can jump on board and,
Yeah.
if they want to learn, they want to grow, they're ready to tap into their sort of inner soul and start that little excavation process and they want to be guided, so they don't have to do it alone. How can they do that?
Yeah, so they can do it through the website. So it's healinglight.com.au or the Instagram, the same as my name, Jelena Vukalovic, the same way as like that on Facebook.
Mhm.
On the Instagram and the website, there is links to get into Authentic Feminine New Group. So then in the Authentic Feminine New Group, there are mastermind classes once a month. As you participated in them, they're free. And then I'm starting up with completely new program. So the whole thing, landing page, everything is getting written down for the men, especially because what I see is predominantly I see women, 80%, 70% of the clients. I see the children and I see the males. But more and more males are coming up, the marriage broke down. What do I do? How do I deal with
Mm.
that? And, some of them are going like, I don't want to repeat the same mistakes, the same things, and they want to grow from it, but there is not much of an input for it, how to actually deal with it and
Mm.
how to learn what does the woman wants, what does she needs, and, help them up through their inner child. The thing is, we read a book and we think it's one way, but then in the sessions, they're tuning into you, to your foundations, to your things, what you have
Mm.
got. And yes, so lots of shame comes up, and I go and say to them, this is raw, but it is raw for the reason is to get you to the point where you want it to be.
Mm.
And that's why there is one-on-one sessions, which are 60 minutes, they're 90 minutes. There are past life regressions, but I always say to people, let's go leave past life regression until you don't have got at least a few of clearing up this life. And then we can go and have a look if there is anything. I use past life regression more about one, spiritual growth. Second part, if you have event, let's go say you're claustrophobic, and in this life, I cannot find it on your timeline. And if you don't remember, there was actually on top of that, you don't remember that you were claustrophobic for a reason. Yeah, for example, you were left in a small space, during the war, anything like that. You know what I mean? And then we look at it, is it something that it's in a past life that it's being, taken on your soul level into this life to work through it? That's the only reason why I would have gone and
Mhm.
do something like this. And that's why, I always say to people, start with these normal
Mhm.
sessions, trifecta sessions, and then we go and move into past life if it's needed for that. Clients, I have to say, I've got quite a few of them from a day one when I started working. They would say to me the same as, even I said the other evening when I done the podcast, she goes, I can't afford not to see you at least once a month.
Mm.
You recharge my energy, you change my energy grid, you make sure you see what you see, you change it up, you give me like warning things, what I can work through it. How can I get myself better in the business, in a
Mm.
growth to grow? Because
Yeah.
as every, if we, let's go say we have lemon tree in a garden, yeah, and I always compare this, and I'm grateful for the way I was raised, nature. If we don't look after that, even perfect tree in a nature, what's going to happen if there is no fertilizer like Noivo and things and water and things? That's why I talk about pineapple season and about pineapples.
Mm.
You need to look after it, just same as we need to look after ourselves emotionally, spiritually. We can't just hope for the best and it's going to happen. Or it's not
Mm.
going to happen, just
Mhm.
landing.
Mhm.
And the word what I always talk about is consistency.
Mm.
Be consistent with what you're doing. And
Yeah.
maybe you're going to learn these lessons, okay, and the new layers comes in, just like in the parenthood. 0 to 3 is one way of dealing with the
Mhm.
children, then it's
Mhm.
3 to
Yeah.
5 or 3 to
Yeah.
6 depending on if it's a boy or girl, and
Yeah.
then we have 7 to 12, and then it's
Yeah.
12 to 15, and then from
Yeah.
15 to 17, and 15 to 21. And I know this because I've seen this with my children.
Yeah.
Every one of those stages bring you different things,
Yeah.
but how
It's like a
can we,
game. It's like a game, literally. I mean, not like a game, but it's like those
it's a
levels,
puzzle.
like a
It's
level,
like a puzzle, and you have
Yeah.
to learn to shuffle them around
Yes.
that you can do it. But it's like as the lifeguards, they teach you, if the rip takes you, don't swim against
Against
it.
it.
Take it
Yes.
out.
Yeah.
Take it
Yeah. Yeah.
out. And
I
that's
know
why I
when I
say to
got
people,
told
don't
like
swim against it.
swim when I got stuck in a current once and I was like swimming against it. And I don't know if you had told me like, because I didn't grow up here. I don't know about swimming in the ocean. Come on. Like I grew up in a cellar, man. We had like lakes. I'm a land chick. I'm on the mountains with goats and shit. And I was like, Andrew's like, you have to swim to the side, like
Yeah.
sideways. I was like, what? Like until you get out of that current. And then I was just like, oh, mind blown. Obviously, my parents didn't know. Like I said, we didn't grow up around water or ocean or barely any of my family swim. Like none of them swimmers either. So it
Yeah, I know.
it is so true, like what you said. And what I love about being a parent is that I'm constantly forced to grow. I'm constantly forced with that. And as much as I fucking hate it sometimes, I'm like, oh, I'm tired. I don't want to do that today. It's like I'm forced to like stretch and now I'm actually not scared of stretching anymore. I'm like, yeah, let's see how far we can go because I know I'm capable of it. It makes that belief, that self belief. And I'm just like, fuck, I've been looking for that for so many years, but I'm like, actually, it's been there all along. Right. So it's more just like coming back home to myself. So I love what you do. I love your energy because when I was in the master class, I was like, it was such a nice energy, because being in the business world and like podcasting and anything like it's so it feels masculine, it feels very grinding and you got to work fucking hard and it's this like very heavy masculine energy. Nobody talks about where they leave their kids, who looks after their kids while they're doing ice baths. Like, where's the children? Oh, the wife's looking after. It's like I love like that grind. Like I love that too because I love that. Like I thrive off it. But at the same time, what I loved about your group and everything, it's like, and when you wrote when you your group's called Authentic, was it Authentic
Feminine view.
Feminine You? I was like, I love that because I'm like, authenticity, that's my word, like being authentic. I'm like, I love that.
And
And like
you
just
see,
being in there felt so safe.
and when I opened up that group, there was nothing authentic. Like there was no words authentic. And now everyone is using, and now everyone is using healing too. But I'm like, there is a difference between healing and energy healing.
Mm,
Like an
yeah,
authenticity coming up is authenticity. That doesn't mean that you're perfect. You're
yeah.
honest about what you went through and what you did and how you're dealing with it. So their authenticity is real with you, but not what the
Mm.
society or what Jelena tells you what you're supposed to do to tick the boxes.
I love that you work with people in such a custom way, like that it's not a cookie cutter approach of like, I know that when I come to you, you're working with me and my energy. And when
Very
you go to
true.
somebody else, like, yeah, you're not like, okay, this is my process. Like, of course you have processes and
Mm,
systems in business to streamline and make things easier and quicker. But at the same time, it's like you take the time and you give the support and it's like, yeah, it's genuine. It's the real deal because like you said, it's not about buying into other people's ideas like Brene Brown vulnerability or reading this
yeah,
book about the art of not giving a fuck or like buying into other people's ideas. It's actually like, what's my idea? Who am I here to
exactly.
become? It's
And
actually
this is
like,
where the tapping into the see, like people come and say they're like, you just tapping into what you see and you open up my eyes to be able to see more. And I'm
mm,
like, yeah, because you're looking like this and there is so much more when you look at like this, but we're scared.
yeah,
We're
yeah.
so scared because of what happened to us in our life.
I think we're scared of our own greatness, our own potential, and I just think it's awesome that you've come to a point in your life where you're able to get all your challenges and all your lessons, and as hard as they were, you've been able to like rise and conquer, I guess, to be able to give some of that away. Because I do feel like if you have a gift, it's your God-given obligation in a way to because I said to Andrew, what's the point of having all this? What's the point of having skills if you're not gonna fucking share them? Like, what's the point? Like, do you know what I mean? Like I feed my neighbors. I've got this little French granny. I love feeding her. I go take her food and soup and bread. And daughter's like, I love you. And Meme like call her grandma. She's I love you. I love you. Well, you're a very good girl. And she kisses me, and I'm like, she gives me so much more than what I give her. Like when I'm feeling a certain way, I just go and I sit with her, and
Yeah.
I just sit with her. And it's just that sitting in that house with the black and white floor and all of her black and white pictures around her, she gives me so much more than what she'll ever know to me, right? So that's why I just always say to people, if you're not feeling loved, if you're feeling lonely, it's like call someone who gives a shit. Book Jelena, do something, because nothing's going to change if you don't change. And it's a hard realization to come by,
It
but there's
starts with
support there.
us.
Yeah. Yeah, there's good support there, and I can't wait to do a session with you. I can't wait to see you. Yelena's gonna come to the Gold Coast. It's like we could fucking talk all day, and I just like, oh man, I could just see it. We need like a whole weekend. But Yelena's gonna come to the Gold Coast next week, so we're actually gonna meet in person. So I'm really, really excited. I
I
better
was
clean
really
up this fucking
excited.
room. There's a puppy sleeping here now on the bed. But honestly, it's just been such a joy and pleasure to talk to you, and thank you for opening up, for bearing your soul and sharing your experiences, as difficult as what they were, with me and with the audience. And I hope that whoever's listening, gets something positive and uplifting from it. And I have no doubt that they will. And I just got one more question to ask you before we break away. I will add all of your links in the show notes. So, like when people open up the episode, they can click on all the links that we talked about, links to the group and links to your website and booking a session with
Appreciate it.
you. You do Zoom as well. So you do virtual. So even if they are, because a lot of my listeners are overseas. So like I'm not in your state, we're not in the same city. So people
Yeah.
can do virtual sessions as well. And I always love supporting other women in business. Like that's one of my favorite things to do. Um, because I just believe when we lift others up, we naturally lift us up too. Like there's room for all of
Yeah.
us. It's fine,
Yeah.
guys.
There's
Like
room
there's
for all of
there's
us.
fucking heaps of
Completely.
room, like lots of room, lots of space. So I'll add all the show notes, all the links. And I just wanted to ask you one last question. Jelena, what would you tell, you know, little Jelena, your past self, looking back now, what would you tell her?
Just to believe in herself. Absolutely believe in herself. It doesn't matter how, crazy something sounds or anything like that. Just believe in yourself. You'll do it. Like I say this, I come up with this, what I say to the to the clients. You will wonder how to do it until you're not doing it.
Mm, yeah.
And this is so true. You will wonder how to do it until you're not actually doing it. And I've done it so many times through the war, through the divorce, through these, through injuries, what I had when I couldn't get up in a car, out of the bed and everything else. And it's like, how did I wonder how to do it? And I'm doing it. You'll do the same thing. You'll wonder how to do it until you are not doing it.
Mm.
And every step will be one step closer to whatever you are setting yourself to have or to have as a goal.
Oh, good on you. You should be very, very proud of yourself. And yeah, thank you for sharing your story and your journey. It's been incredible. I've learned so many things as well. And I'm sure everyone who's listening also will. So I'll leave it at that. Otherwise, we can be at this the whole day. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. I always say hvala vam otcica because, people are taking the time while they're driving or with kids or washing or, wherever they are in the world to pause, to stop, to listen. And I think that's a great answer. And I think we can all take something away from that. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here. And we'll catch you on the next episode.
Thank you.
So that was the episode. I hope that you really enjoyed it. And as ever, if you did, please consider sharing it with your loved ones and leaving me a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. It really does make a difference to the number of Balkan sisters that we can reach with the brilliant wisdom that my guests and I share. Thanks for being here. I doviđenja.